My buddy Ben Shapiro with us. He's written an outstanding book, True Allegiance, and we'll link to that, Mr. Producer. But I have him here because there was a little run-in the other day, and this is going on our college campuses, to conservatives and, quite frankly, Jews who happen to support Israel, among others, Christians who support their faith as well. Ben Shapiro, how are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty well, Mark. How are you?
I'm very well. Tell us what happened.
Well, so it's been a really interesting week. I started at DePaul University. At DePaul University, I'd been banned there about 6 months ago because they said they couldn't handle the safety concerns of having me on their campus because students at other campuses had nearly rioted when I went to speak there. And so they announced that I would not be allowed to speak at DePaul. The Young America's Foundation said, we're going to bring him anyway. And then when the university found out about it, they said, if Shapiro sets foot on campus, then we will arrest him. That's kind of the short story. So they tried to bring me in as a speaker, and then they brought Christina Hoff Sommers, the anti-feminist, in as a speaker. They wanted to bring me in as just a guest. The administration wouldn't allow that. And then they tried to bring me in as one of Christina's team, and they wouldn't even allow that. So
hold on. Let me just get this straight. So the fact that people would potentially rise up or get violent against you means that you are banned from DePaul University.
That's right. And they would arrest me if I said, I explicitly asked the head of security there, if I take 2 more steps forward, like I went anyway, and I said, if I take 2 more steps forward right now, will you arrest me? If I attempt to go into that lecture hall, will you arrest me? And he said yes, and I believed him because he had 30 security guards standing behind him, 5 cops down the street, and the sheriff of Cook County inside the building waiting to take me off to jail. So it was an interesting experience.
I mean, that's quite totalitarian, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, what I said to him was, you do live in a city that's had 4,000 shootings in it year to date, and you've got 30 security people, 5 cops, and a sheriff of Cook County here for a 5'9", 169 Orthodox Jew.
Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable what's happening to these colleges and universities. They're becoming like the point of the arrow for this totalitarian left. But what else happened to you?
Okay, so the next day, I go to University of Wisconsin in Madison, and they knew there were going to be protesters at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, apparently 2 Black Lives Matter groups and a white supremacist group, which is a bit about my year. And so the administration assigned 3 cops to deal with a crowd of 500 people and 3 protest groups. And then they told them that if the protesters got up and disrupted the event, and they had to arrest any of the protesters, and I called for them to arrest any of the protesters, they would shut down the entire event. So if the protesters made trouble, and then cops had to remove just the protesters, and we all wanted to go on with the event, that would not happen. They would shut down the entire event and empty.
So the protesters would know exactly what to do then?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what they did. So the protesters were there, and they got up, and they started shouting and chanting shame and safety for some reason. And they were chanting at me for at least 10 minutes, every minute and a half. Then they got up and stood in front of the stage and tried to block the viewpoint between me and the audience. They forgot that there were a bunch of movable chalkboards behind them, and so I went over, grabbed a piece of chalk, and wrote in very large letter "morons," and put the chalkboard right above their heads. So that made for some fun visuals. And then they started screaming at the audience. This went on for 20, 25 minutes. Finally, they started filing out, but not before chanting "F white supremacy" and flipping off the crowd and flipping me off, which led me to lose my temper just a bit, and I flipped them the double bird as well. So it was an interesting night.
And of course, you have nothing to do with the white supremacy movement or anything of the sort. And
I'm the number 1 target. According to the Anti-Defamation League this year, I was the number 1 journalistic target of white supremacy on the internet this year.
So 2 attempts to speak at 2 universities quashed. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, we figured out some end arounds, but yeah, I mean, at DePaul, we actually had me Skype into Christina Hoff Sommers, who's in the hall with all these kids. We had me Skype into her. She held up her iPad. I said, okay, everybody get up, walk out, and we all walked down to a theater about 3 blocks down and held the event anyway. And what was amazing about the DePaul thing, when they were trying to arrest me, is that there were no protesters. There were 0 protesters, like not one. There were 30 security people, no protesters, and I was too scary to let inside. At University of Wisconsin, we went ahead with the lecture afterward. I was really proud of the audience. The audience was, the folks who came to see. These are just people, and not only students, hardworking people from the community. One lady who worked at a soup kitchen got up and started shouting at these people. Listen, I was on my feet for 10 hours today, working with people of every race and creed and ethnicity and helping them out. The least you can do is sit down and shut up and listen to the man speak. People were. It was a great contrast. I mean, they were shouting shame at me and at the audience, and the audience was shouting back at them, chanting decency and free speech matters. Which, if that doesn't say it all, I'm not sure what does.
And why are they opposed to you? Because of your faith? Because of your views? What is this all about?
So I'm not arrogant enough to think that a lot of these protesters even know who I am. I think that they know that somebody who's conservative is coming to campus. The fact that I speak out against Black Lives Matter is a big thing. The fact that I think that white supremacy, that white privilege, which is one of their favorite terms, is nonsense. They make a big deal out of that. But I think that mostly there are a few professors, and these professors say to the students that some crazy guy from the KKK is coming here, and you better go talk to him. So one guy at the beginning of the Wisconsin speech gets up and starts shouting at me about how I ought to be wearing a swastika, and I wear a yarmulke, right? I picked the yarmulke up off my head. I said, those aren't my folks. They don't like me very much. But yeah, they basically the professors tell them myths about who I am, and then they believe those myths, and they come and they think that it's incumbent on them to stop the Hitler KKK from speaking to their fellow students.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't see this getting any better, do you?
No, I don't. I think that, especially because the left feels emboldened by the Trump election to be as loud and as crazy as they want to be, and more importantly, the administrators are just humoring it. I mean, across the country, the administrators are declaring safe spaces. You've got professors canceling classes so kids can mourn. You've got professors who are giving people different grades on tests based on their level of emotionality with regard to the election. As long as you keep coddling these whiny crybaby snowflakes, they're going to continue to do this stuff because victimization in college world is power. And so they just get to declare themselves victims. Now that Trump is the president-elect, they're going to get to declare themselves victims for 4 long, interminable years, and the administrators will go right along with them, patting them on their little heads, up to the point where they reach the real world, can't get a job, and have to go live in Occupy times.
But isn't it also the indoctrination by professors? The professors seem to get away with this stuff. They're tenured. They make a fortune. They have wonderful pension benefits and all the rest. Don't they instigate a lot of this? I'll give you an example. A niece of mine attends a school. I don't want to get her in trouble. On the East Coast, it's a public university. The day Trump gets elected, he puts out this outrageous email. We just elected a fascist, or this, that, and the other. I'm giving you the day off. Don't these professors incite this stuff too?
Yeah, 100%. And the biggest problem there is that the only way to change the professoriate, there are only 2 ways to really do it. One is that donors, if you're listening right now, if you're a trustee, if you're a donor at one of these universities, withdraw your cash from any university that does this kind of stuff. Your cash speaks more than your phone calls to the university, more than public pressure. That's number one. But the bigger problem is that in order to become a professor at a major university, you have to be sponsored by another professor. It's sort of like the old Soviet judicial system. You actually have to be sponsored by a higher-up. So if you have a professor, a kind of person who writes these notes, and you want to write a dissertation with that professor, you're not going to be able to write a dissertation on why black communities need better policing. Right? Instead, what you're going to get is you better not write that dissertation or you're not getting your PhD. So it's this self-perpetuating cycle, and this is how it's lasted for generations. They're appointing their successors. That means the only way to break that cycle is either to break the monetary sponsorship or to set up competing schools, the places like Hillsdale College, or to actually just fib, right? To just write what they want you to write, get where you want to go, and then look at this. I'm a conservative. And
this is a very, very important point, and I write about it in Plunder and Deceit too. The ancestral nature of this. You're right. The faculty picks the faculty. And the faculty picks the faculty, one generation of faculty to the next. And they tend to focus on the same 20 to 30 universities. And this is their system. And then they're tenured. And you're right. There's this sort of power faculty that just keeps promoting one after another.
That's exactly right. And that's why, you have, that's exactly why, for example, you haven't seen this sort of infiltrate the maths and sciences the same way because people appoint their successors. But ever since the 60s, this has been a cycle that hasn't been broken. And the students right now who are protesting and shouting, those are going to be the ones teaching the classes in 5 to 10 years. I mean, when you major in gender and diversity studies, if you major in lesbian dance theory, that qualifies you for one job and one job only, teaching lesbian dance theory or gender and diversity studies. So the only reason these departments exist is to self-perpetuate. And then to propagandize. All
right. Well, listen, you're a very brave young man to go into these institutions. Are you planning any in the future?
Oh, yeah. I'm like 10 minutes from now, I'm supposed to speak at University of Minnesota, so we'll see how that goes. And
holy mackerel.
I got to swing along the East Coast in early December. So, yeah, we're going to be doing dozens of these across the country. Hey, it doesn't take a lot of bravery for me. I got security. It takes a lot of bravery for the students who have to stick around after I leave.
Well, give our friends at the University of Minnesota my best, will you?
Definitely will. Thanks, Mark.
And then duck. All right. Thank you, my friend. You take care. There he goes. Ben Shapiro. Good guy.